Well, good evening, colleagues. My name is Jessica Pollock. I'm from the Cayman Islands, and this is my personal brand story for Comms 526. When I think about my personal brand, I go back to one of my very favorite stories in the Old Testament of the Bible. It's from the book of Nehemiah, and the story goes that Nehemiah is attempting to rebuild the wall of Jerusalem, and he's doing good work, and he's working diligently because this is what God wants him to do, and this is what God has called him to do. But the surrounding leaders and the surrounding nations really don't like what Nehemiah is doing. And they are plotting to kill him. But they got to get him to come off this wall first. So they write letters to him and attempt to get him to come down off this wall. But Nehemiah responds to them. And this is his response is what has stuck with me throughout my entire life. He says, "Why should I come down? For I'm doing a good work that I cannot come down." You see, Nehemiah knew that the work that he was doing was good, and he wasn't going to let anything deter him from what he was doing. He wasn't going to let anything bother him or anything get in the way of the work that God had called him to do. And that, for me, was one of the most powerful messages that I could have ever listened to from my life. I believe that I am doing good work. And there are times when I'll feel torn down and that I'll feel discouraged, but I know that I'm doing good work as a follower of Christ and that I won't let anything sideline me from that. Kind of piggybacking off that story, I jump ahead to, or backtrack 9 years to my very first job interview coming out of college. It was the Cayman Islands Department of it was with the Cayman Islands Department of Tourism for a marketing assistant position. And we went through the usual question and answer, and we'd finally gotten to the final answer, or final question, that they were going to ask for this interview. And the director at the time stated, "Where do you see yourself in 10 years? And I answered very confidently, "Wherever you sit, that's where I'll be." And it wasn't arrogance, it wasn't being a hothead or smart aleck. It was more of, I knew that if God had called me to do good work for that department, that's where he would place me, and that he would have a hand in how my career would go there with the Department of Tourism. Needless to say, 9 years later, I've climbed the ladder. I was an assistant, and then I was an officer, and now I'm a manager, and I'm set up to be deputy director in about 2 years' time. It's a very exciting time, but it always goes back to that passage from Nehemiah, that I know that I'm doing good work and that I won't stop, and I won't let anything backtrack me from doing what God has called me to do. Thank you very much, and I apologize for some of the interruptions. Daddy is at PTA tonight, so I have 2 small munchkins with me. Would you like to say hello?
Hello. Hello. Who is it?
Thank you very much, and have a good evening.